I'm Dr. Brook Choulet, and we are doing an impromptu interview today. I'm with Doug Middleton, founder of Dream Yoga and former player.
Yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about what brought us here together and what we're doing here.
Yeah. I think, it's Super Bowl week. We're down here in New Orleans and just want to get a chance to connect with you. I know we've met, through text and then on LinkedIn. I see all the great work that you're doing. And so I wanted to make sure that I had a chance to meet you face to face and say thank you for all the great work that you're doing, especially just covering athlete mental health. I think that's great. And so, and then just, I guess, talk more about the studio, all the great things.
Yeah, and so tell us a little bit about your journey, because you founded a giant yoga studio that has mental health services too.
Yeah.
But before we get there, tell us about your journey in the league and then what prompted you to start this company when you were done.
Yeah, so I got into the NFL in 2016 and came in as an undrafted free agent, and which means you don't really have a good shot of making the team, but you just got to work extremely hard and be extremely blessed. And I was, I did both those things and had both those things, and made the team for the New York Jets from 16 to 2019, and went on to play for the Jaguars in 19 and 20, San Francisco in 21, 22, and then I retired maybe about 2 or 3 years ago. And during my career, there were a lot of things that came up that kind of made me put it in my heart to be able to do something like this. And the first thing was the injuries. I had a few injuries in my career. Tore my right pec, tore my left pec. Those are things that physically really brought me back to yoga. Want to become more flexible. I really had a lot of issues there. And then the mental health part, recovering from injuries is really tough. I'm sure you've noticed that talking to a lot of different athletes, but the mental health part is the things that people don't consider when you think about the injuries, the identity, and being able to work your way back up towards the top level that you were just at. And then also losing a friend to suicide was something that was an impact in my life. And so all those moments kind of came together for me to find yoga, and I just got extremely passionate about it, and decided to open up a yoga studio. We have 5 different types of yoga. We have, currently 3 mental health therapists on staff, but we're about to do a division, specifically on focusing on mental health for athletes.
That's so cool.
And so very excited about that. And then, we have cold plunges and saunas. And so think about just a wellness recovery space for physical and mental, mind and body connection. We call it, healing happens here. So
yeah, that's incredible. And I want to go back to touching on injury.
Yeah.
Because that is such a critical time in athletes' lives where it's almost not an if, it's a when, right?
For sure.
It's part of the job. And so when you had that first injury, what kind of mental toughness or strength did it take to go through rehab and really believe in yourself that you would come back stronger than before?
Yeah, injuries are tough because you don't really know if you're going to be back to the same status that you were before. And, you really have to go back to the bottom, when you get injured and kind of work your way back up. So the resiliency that you have to have is you have to have a lot of mental resiliency, mental fortitude. And so for me, some things that helped me were certain books that I read during my journey. I always tried to find like-minded stories, and so Drew Brees was a guy who had some shoulder injuries, and so I read his book, and that really helped me through it a lot. And just tried to find more purpose outside of my sport during that time, and so I got back in school and went back to school. I was doing my rehab, and so those are all things that contributed to me improving as a person, which then helped me improve as a player, because now I'm able to play more free because I feel like I've done something with my time and was able to leverage it a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's tough, it's tough being removed away from all your teammates and having to kind of do this rehab alone.
Watch from the sidelines.
Yeah, watch from the sidelines, and the questions everybody's asked you about, that it's just a lot of unknown, right? You don't know what's next. You don't know the team, what they may do differently, when they bring you back, or where you may be, it's just so much uncertainty. And I think that's what athletes deal with when it comes to injuries. And so, but it takes a lot of work. I mean, a lot of days, no day is the same. You got to just get up and work at it, and try to be consistent.
And I know you're a big believer in community, right? Yeah. You have this community at the yoga studio, your family community. How would you say that is it possible to build authentic relationships after coming out of the league when there's just a big question mark on everyone's intentions and there's such a transactional element to so many relationships?
Yeah, I think you still can build authentic relationships. I think, you don't want to have it, transactional. You want to, be relationship based. And so building those relationships, it does take yourself, putting yourself out there. But as long as there is a transaction exchange that is beneficial for both sides, I think, those relationships start to really grow over time. And then you just start to lean into those relationships, not just when you need something or not just when you want something, and develop a true friendship with those people. Let's not get it mistaken. That's what life is about, is relationships. I mean, you show me your people, you show me your value and the things that you can bring to this world. So it's all about the people, and so we don't have to, ignore that part of it. And as an athlete, former athlete, there's still great places that you can still make good relationships.
No, that's great. And will we see you taking Dream Yoga National?
Yeah, we'll see. Let's get this first one figured out. Yeah, we're 18 months in and got a lot of work to figure out.
So much in
it has.
It's incredible.
It's grown a ton. Grown a ton. And it's just like sports. You climb the mountain, and so sometimes you don't see how far you've come. You only see where you're trying to go. And so but that's why yoga is such a big thing for me, because it the gratitude comes back in the place of just being where you are, being where your feet are, and finding that perspective to just appreciate what you have.
Yeah, and I think Danica Patrick said it best when I asked her about transitioning out of racing to running businesses. And she's like, I was frustrated that I wasn't good at that right away. She I was used to being ready. Right. She's like, I'm used to being so good at my sport, and then you switch to business, and it's frustrating.
Takes time. I mean, but then you put in perspective, like I've been playing, sports for 20 years before I made it to the NFL. And so when you make it seem like that, I've been doing yoga as a business owner for 18 months.
It's the beginning.
It's the beginning. It takes time. Yeah. My turn?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right. So yeah, tell us about all the, you've been everywhere. You're going to All-Star next week, Super Bowl. You just came from Phoenix. You tell me, you've been everywhere in like the last 2 months. So tell us about some of the cool things you've been up to.
Yeah, outside my office, so I see patients Monday through Wednesday. I'd say split between athletes and executives, entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Same problems, different environments, right? And so what I've been doing in my not so much free time is really advocating for good athlete mental health care, confidential, accessible. And I just put out an op-ed in Sports Business Journal called More Than Just a Check Mark. Yeah. Because teams have this check mark requirement to have mental health services and all of that, but are they treating it as more than that? Is it as important as the strength trainer? Is it as important as physical therapy, massage, all these things that they invest tens of thousands of dollars on the latest technology? But what about the mind?
Yeah.
Because once you hit the field, everyone's earned their spot from a physical skill standpoint to be there. So what sets apart those exceptional athletes from the rest?
Yeah, I like that. Tell me this, what's your thoughts on some of these in-house clinicians?
Oh my God,
nothing. Yeah, I'm not gonna take it anywhere negative, but as an athlete, I would say it was always kind of tough to maybe go to the in-house clinician, because that person is employed by the club, by the GM, by the owner, and so you never knew what type of information would get out. What's your thoughts on being able to have the healthy balance of being able to reach out to people that are outside the building versus just working with both?
Yes, and I could speak to that because I've been on both sides. I've been the team clinician in the NBA. I've been outside, on the NBA side. So, first and foremost, from the clinician standpoint, you can lose your license if you were to share any.
No, for sure. Yeah.
The tough part is high quality mental health services is challenging because, like you said, the people are being paid by the team. And so how much is the team willing to invest in mental health services when they're so heavily invested on the physical side?
Right.
So even, I don't know if I could talk about this publicly, but I'll go for it anyways. But just recently, even I interviewed for a position with an NBA team.
Oh, wow.
And they were deciding between the clinician side, like a licensed psychiatrist, and a non-clinician side, like a mental performance.
CMPC.
Yep. What did they end up going with is a CMPC.
Wow.
What's the cost differential? Hundreds of thousands.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting where like now, yes, the players have great access to CMPC who could provide great services regarding on-court skills.
Yeah, it's more like performance type of.
Right. But what about, I would make the argument that it's all the stuff going on off the court.
Yeah.
That's causing.
So let me interject there. So that's exactly why I want to start a mental health practice for athletes, because I truly believe that all of these performance issues that athletes may have, or all these mental health things that may be going on with the athlete, stem from something else more than just how am I shooting the basketball.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and I think, of course, CMPCs bring a lot of value to the space, and I think they do a lot of great things. Yeah. But I do think we first need to look at how can we treat, with that trauma or whatever the issue may be within the athlete first.
Right, because that's really complementary, right? If you think about it, what the league requirements are on the NBA side is you have to have a mental health clinician, which is a licensed therapist or psychologist, and a consulting psychiatrist. And then additionally, as an accessory, optional is a CMPC.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting, like team clinician wise, I understand it from a business standpoint because it's so much cheaper for them to bring on a CMPC, but I have to really, I want the best quality services.
So let's get into some fun stuff. Like what made you get into this? Why did you become so passionate about,
I fell into it. I never intended to get into the sports world, and I ended up in concierge psychiatry, getting asked to come to a lot of athletes' homes to provide on-site services. And so it was really kind of a good overlap between the two, where I could go to a player's home if you have a all-star QB who doesn't want to be sitting in a waiting room waiting for their child to be seen. So I was finding myself going to players' homes to see their family members, see them, and then kind of fell into the space.
Wow. What's been the best part so far? Give me your the moment that's felt the best, whether it was a client that you really had success with, or no names or anything like that, but just something.
That's a good one. No one's ever asked me that, but one moment comes to mind immediately. Is I had a player from one of the professional leagues look me in the eye and say, I feel like this is the first conversation where I know you don't want something from me. Because obviously I'm there to help them. Right. And that's why I always ask in interviews to athletes about that transactional nature of a relationship.
Because everybody wants something from
Exactly. And so that was really a game changer moment for me, was it is so isolating to be a professional athlete, and many people don't realize that.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. So what's next? What's your next, what's your rest of your couple days look like down here? And then what's your plans for All-Star? I think you're going next week, right?
Yeah, so I'm moderating the NFLPA Be Well conference event tomorrow with Interactive and two former players, where we'll talk all things mental health and performance. And then Saturday, I'm moderating the Lee Steinberg Super Bowl Party Brain Health Summit. Yeah. And then All-Star next weekend.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's so good to catch up. Yeah, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you got a lot of great things going on. It's hard to meet you. And thank you.